What's going on, everybody? It's LtBuzzLitebeer back with another Division 2 build guide. And for those of you that are looking to get a build that really shreds and can lay down low mission completion times on heroic difficulty, this build is for you. But before we begin today's video, if you want more of this style of intensive Division content in your lives, please smash that sub button. And don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another upload notification from my YouTube channel. You can also support the channel by watching the entire video, liking and sharing the video, and of course, leaving a comment. Alright, let's not waste any more time. So the basis for this video is a message I received requesting a build that would allow someone that plays the Division 2 on a fairly high level to solo speedrun heroic missions, but could be assembled without using raid-specific weaponry or gear, and I think I've got just the thing for you by using the Negotiator's Dilemma gear set. In fact, all the pieces that I'm using for this build can be farmed for and or found in the open world. First up is the Specialization, and I have chosen the Gunner spec for a couple of important factors. Now, first and foremost is the Incessant talent that is going to grant us plus 10% armor on kill, and since this build requires full commitment to damage output and speed, we have no ability to self-heal or to stop and use an armor kit. Other really strong benefits to using the Gunner spec are every third reload is 50% faster, regenerating ammo over time, rate of fire increase on kill, and if you choose to use it, the Banshee Pulse. Now let's jump into the build breakdown. For the mask, I am using the ND mask with weapon damage, crit hit damage as the attribute, and a crit hit damage mod. I'm going to skip the body armor until later and instead jump to the holster, which is again ND with max weapon damage and crit hit damage as the attribute. The backpack is again ND with weapon damage, crit hit damage as the attribute, and a crit hit damage mod. Now, the ND backpack features the Critical Measures talent that will increase hostile negotiations damage to additional marked enemies from 60% to 100%, and I will explain the ND gear set in just a moment. No surprises here, I am using the ND gloves as the fourth and final piece of this gear set with weapon damage and crit hit damage as the attribute. For the knee pads, I am using the named Fox's Prayer Overlord knee pads for that plus 8% damage to targets out of cover, which is of course multiplicative damage. Like the other gear pieces, weapon damage and critical hit damage are the norm. Okay, jumping back to the body armor, and I have two versions of this build for you, one mild and one wild. Now for the mild version, I am using a Grupo Sombra vest with spotter along with weapon damage, crit hit chance and critical hit damage attributes, along with a crit hit damage mod. Spotter, when used with the pulse, will mark targets and amp my damage, which remember is multiplicative, versus those targets by plus 15%. The wild version of this build is to equip the Sacrifice body armor and enjoy the damage output of plus 30% amp damage versus targets until you take one good hit and are immediately folded. Now, to use glass cannon with this build, you must be completely focused in jumping the enemy spawns before they have a chance to scatter and or shoot back at you. Before moving on, I promised a quick explanation for using the Negotiator's Dilemma gear set, and the 2 and 3 piece bonuses should be evident, as they grant us plus 15% crit hit chance and plus 20% crit hit damage. Now, the 4-piece bonus has a lot of text that can confuse you, but the basics are that you can mark up to 3 targets by landing a critical strike, which should be pretty easy with this build. When you critically hit a marked enemy, all other marked enemies take 60% of the damage dealt to that marked enemy. We also gain plus 2% critical hit damage per kill against marked enemies, stacking up to 20 times or until combat ends. Now, the idea here is to spray rounds between up to 3 enemies while in the process landing a critical strike and applying the mark. Then we want to hold the trigger down and start landing critical hits across those 3 enemies, which will apply damage to all the enemies we just applied the marks to. Now, since we have the ND backpack, that 60% damage transfer is now increased up to 100%. For both versions of this build, I am using the named Dark Winter Vector SMG for the perfect killer talent of plus 50% critical hit damage for 10 seconds when killing a target with a critical hit. I have rolled damage to targets out of cover onto this insane SMG for the multiplicative damage bonus, and I am of course using an assortment of crit mods along with the plus 20 round extended magazine. The second SMG I am using is the exotic Lady Death, entirely due to the breathe-free weapon talent, as this SMG gains up to 32 rounds of 75% amped up damage by equipping and either moving or sprinting with the weapon. Kills also grant me plus 20% movement speed for 10 seconds, so I can get to the next encounter just a little bit faster. Now, the Lady Death works best when I have a short run to the next pod of enemies, so I can build it up to max stacks and then drain the amped up rounds onto the group before switching over to the Dark Winter to finish off any stragglers. On the mild version of this build, I am using the Striker drone for a bit of extra damage output, along with the Scanner Pulse to proc the Spotter talent on the body armor. Now for the wild version, when using the Sacrifice body armor, I again use the Striker drone, but instead switch to the Banshee Pulse to disorient targets and give me just a bit of an advantage versus those large mobs. The overall stats for this build are now up on your screens, and if I were to fully optimize my Dark Winter and a few attributes, I would be at the 60% crit hit chance hard cap, along with around 200% crit hit damage. Once you add in the 50% crit hit damage from Perfect Killer or the amped up rounds from the Lady Death, this build will simply melt heroic level NPCs. I think I'm going to end the build portion of this video right here and stay tuned for a full run through of American History Museum on Solo Heroic showcasing this build. Remember to smash the sub button and ring the bell for future upload notifications. If you liked the video, rate it with a thumbs up, if not with a thumbs down. Patreon and Teespring links in the video description. Follow me on Twitter for all my latest thoughts concerning most things gaming related. Stay tuned for that speedrun footage. And until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.
Your goal is a collection of transcripts and notes from months of prisoner interrogations. The information is stored on a military-grade laptop, kept in the main holding area downstairs. The first priority is to release the prisoners once the True Sun's busy. You'll be looking for some kind of security terminal. The security terminal should be somewhere nearby. Look around.
Serious trauma detected. Active terminal detected.
Sounds promising. Find it and patch eyes again. Okay, I'm in. Now to open the cells. And the cells are open. The main holding area is downstairs. Get moving. True Sons seem to be in control of the holding area. The hyenas are knocking out security cameras. Pretty smart of them.
Reinforcements incoming.
lost the camera feed from the holding area. There was a bright flash and then static.
Vital signs critical.
Picked up on camera again. The holding area is just ahead. Once you find that laptop, grab it and get the hell out of there.
Looks like you got True Sun's reinforcements headed your way.
North or south side?
Both. Heavier concentration to the south.
With all those gates sealed, the north exit should be closer.
No more contacts. All clear.
You just recovered intel that's going to be a whole lot of help to Odessa in the short term, but to all of us in the long run. You also effectively put this hellhole out of commission.